Hey, what's going on, good people? It's Gardner Douglas, your Oyster Ninja. I'm here with Mr. Luke. And you may know this face or recognize this face from TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or what's that crab place? Jimmy's, was it Jimmy's? As the all-star crabber. Um, but hey, what's going on, Luke? How you feel?
I'm good, man. How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm good. They call you Mr. TikTok now, right?
Man, I got all kinds of names. Captain Tic Toc is one of the favorites from the fleet.
Now he's Captain TikTok. I like that. So
I'll take it. I've been called a lot worse.
so you started off as a commercial crabber or just
Yeah, that's still what I do. It's what I am. Yep.
right. So let's just start there. How the heck did a young man like you, we were just recently talking about, me starting at oysters young, you were a crabber. How did you get into crabbing?
Man, I just always wanted to do it. None of my family is crabbers. They don't even have fishing rods. They're not into any of the, outdoors really, any of the things I'm really into. But man, I tell you, I think my first memory of crabbers is my grandparents had these like coffee table books with old black and white pictures of watermen. And man, I just thought it was the coolest thing. I was like, I don't know what they're doing, but you know, that's what I want to do. And so, hey man, I'm just too dumb to quit. You know what I'm saying? So I bought my first boat. I was 11, and we didn't live on the water. I bought it out of the penny saver for 175 bucks. I built a little cart out of my parents' grill. I used the little wheels off it, built a cart so I could pick up the boat and wheel it down to the end of the street, go fishing, and I've been after it ever since. So 11 years old, I was rowing around Bodkin Creek in Pasadena, crabbing and fishing and catching shrimps and,
Come on,
all that
man.
kind of stuff. I've been after it ever since.
That's a crazy story, man. I don't think I've heard anything like that before. Now,
Yeah,
from a young person, first of all, I'm just thinking in the back of my head, how old are you, first of all?
26.
Oh, this the plot just thickened. So I know, like in my age group, I'm 36. Our parents would let us just go out in the neighborhoods and play with other kids. You don't see that a lot these days. But how did your parents feel about, you just being out in the wild, on the water at that?
Yeah, they were worried to say the least. They, I had to check in and I didn't have a phone then, we didn't have phones then. So it was like, it was a pain, I could only go out for a couple hours at a time. I had to come home and check in. It was a pain. It would cause a little tension between us because all I wanted to do was cut loose and go explore, and they didn't want me to go far or do anything, but, you know, made it work. I got older, had more experience, and you know, came with age.
So what was your first experience actually going out there and working on a crab boat? Um, that whole working on the water.
My parents had a friend named CJ Canby, who's still, you know, my friend. But I was 12 years old, and he's a commercial fisherman, commercial crabber, and he let me come out on the boat for a day with him and go crabbing. And I thought it was the coolest thing because I had known him a long time before that, and he would take me duck hunting and stuff, and I was I would ask him every time I saw him when he was going to let me, if he would take me out. And they finally, he kept saying, when you're 12 years old, I don't know why that age, but he finally let me out. Before that, I had been helping him build crab pots in the yard and just anything I could do to get closer to like, you know, being able to get ready to go out on the boat. I was there. I was taking every opportunity, even though most of it was free child labor. Anything I
Right.
could to get closer and closer to, him letting me go out. And so I was about 12 years old, let me go out. And then, I worked with him on and off throughout the summer, from the time I was 12 until I was like 18. So, you know, I've been I've been after it.
So what did the process look like um going into like starting your own business?
Uh that's well, I was like 17 and or 18 and I got a boat like this old piece of junk from this guy down in the neighborhood. It was this old wooden boat and named the Widow. It's actually a boat CJ owned back in the day. And so I put a floor in it. I moved out right at 18, so I had a job working at a granite countertop shop actually. And then at night I would go work on this boat that I had bought, put a floor in it, put a cabin in it, got the engine running, all this and that. And then my CJ gave me, like 200 old junker crab pots or something, you know what I mean? Stuff he was probably going to throw out, and just said, pay me back whenever you can, as you can. And man, that first 4 years of crabbing was just a disaster. I mean, just a disaster. I didn't know what I was doing. I wouldn't listen to anybody. I was broke. My boat sunk like 4 times. It was like, it was just, I didn't have any market for crabs. I didn't know how to catch a crab. I didn't know what I was doing. It was just a disaster, dude. It was just a mess, but I'm too stupid to quit, so I just kept going back for more.
Yeah, some would say that you were insane, doing the same thing over and over, getting the same results,
Yeah.
matter of fact.
You got to be a little insane to do this kind of stuff. You
Right.
gotta,
Sure.
you can't, you got to be a little nuts sometimes.
What
for
was
sure.
what was your motivation, man, to keep going? And what did you envision at the end of the tunnel? Like, you know what, when my boat finally stopped sinking, where did you think he was going to be?
I just want to make it work. I was like, you got to look at it. In my opinion, the only way you're going to be truly successful and dedicated to anything you do is if you don't leave yourself a second option. So to me, this was all I had. School's not my thing. I moved out, all my eggs were in this basket, and it was literally sink or swim. It was this or nothing. So when you don't have any other options, then you have no choice but to figure it out and, make it work. So, my motivation was just, this is it. This is the only option. What I would say the pivotal moment was getting the boat that I have now, the Southern Girl. I was out crabbing one day in October in my other boat, the Widow, and I got stuck in this real bad storm and almost sank the boat out in the bay. It cracked the whole hull. It caught on fire because I cracked a pipe and a cooling pipe to the exhaust because the boat was just getting so beat. It caught on fire. She was in bad shape, and I was like, you know what? This boat is just, she's just not seaworthy, So it was, buying the new boat, and it was, kind of a new beginning. It was better equipment. It was like, this is it. This is your last chance to make it work. This is it. You got to make it work now. There's no excuses now. This boat floats, and I ended up having a raft of problems with that boat too. But at least it wasn't sinking on me.
Right. All right. So for the folks who don't know anything about crabbing, but they love enjoying crabs, what does a day of crabbing actually look like?
Well, we get up early. I meet the crew usually at 5 o'clock down at the marina. We load the truck up with the bait, or we load the boat with bait and fuel and everything we need. We go out. I fish 500 pots a day. I got a crew of 3 men or women, that all different kinds, but come back usually around 1 or 2 o'clock. We'll load the catch into the truck. The guys, all the people go home, but that's the first half of my day, and then I take the crabs, I put them in the fridge. I go get bait and fuel for the next day in the truck. I come back to my refrigerator trailer and I put together all the orders for crabs I have that day. And then I go meet everybody that ordered crabs that day, usually at one time, at 6 o'clock or so, and sell the crabs and then do whatever else I have to do after that. I might have to go back to the boat, get some stuff ready, work on something, fix something we broke, maintenance, anything like that. It's dark to dark work, you know. I mean, it's a long day, you know, and that's a Monday through Thursday. And then, you know, like Fridays, I go out, do all that, and then, you know, when I get done, instead of meeting people at 6, I take the whole truck and the trailer up to my lot in Furnace Branch Road. I set up shop. You know, I have like a roadside stand, and I sit there on the side of the road and sell crabs. And then I start to take orders for the next day, you know, my phone and everything from 6 o'clock till 9. People text in orders or call me. And then the next morning I get up early, I put together those orders, and I take the truck and trailer, go set up my crab stand again, my roadside stand, and I'm there all day on Saturday. And then I do the same thing all day on Sunday, except for then Sunday when I'm done, I have to go get bait and fuel for the next day in the truck to go crabbing. And then Monday I start it all over again. So it's 7 days a week.
Come on, man. And how long is the crab season for you?
April till November.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes I go to December. It depends on if I have market, but I've caught crabs. The latest I've ever crabbed is December 6th.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's late though.
Okay.
Usually market falls off before that.
Right. And I'm thinking already we're gonna have to do a part 2 to this, man, because it's a lot of information, man. Like, you're very complex because you have your hands in different, pots and things, so to say. But so when you're crabbing, like, how long are the crabs good in a pot?
Like if they're living in a crab pot, if they're trapped up, like how long will they live?
If they're trapped, yeah.
It all depends. I mean, if we're talking summer months, you know, I mean, crab will live a week, if not longer, in a crab pot. I mean, a lot of times the crabs will start to eat each other.
Right.
And part of that is a territory thing, and part of it is that they're hungry. But I'll tell you what, a crab can go a really long time without eating. Eating is typically not their main priority all the time, believe it or not. It sort of is, but if they have to go without food, you know, crabs they can live quite a while without food. Right. Especially if they're just kind of dormant sitting there, you know, they're not moving and whatever.
So how often do you check the same pot?
Usually every 3 or 4 days. You know, occasionally we'll fish if there's a lot of crabs. You know, I'll check them overnight, but typically, historically, we don't. You know, in the Upper Bay here, we have less crabs, but they're better quality. They tend to be better quality crabs, so we tend to fish longer sets in the Upper Bay than they would in the Lower Bay. Like in Virginia, if you leave crabs in a pot 2 days, they're going to be dead or they're going to kill each other. But you know, in the Upper Bay, you know, we're just targeting bigger crabs typically, and you know, so we tend to fish 3 and 4 day sets, you know, in the summertime, and then in the colder months, in the early and late months, you know, spring and fall, you know, we might fish 6 day sets, 5 to 8 day sets, you know.
Oh wow, okay.
You know, the water's colder, the crabs are less active, you know what I mean? Their metabolism's slowing down, they're starting to build a fat reserve for hibernation. They can go a long time without eating, you know. The threat of killing each other goes down. You know, they're just not as feisty when the water's cold.
What's some of the weirdest things that you've seen out on the bay?
Man, I've seen some weird things. I've seen like some water spouts that were pretty crazy. I've caught some kind of bizarre fish, seen some strange stuff, seen some really big fish that you would like never think were in the bay, but like I've seen some black drum that are probably 80 pounds, just giant dinosaur fish, humongous rockfish, you know, 50+ inch rockfish in the summer that are dead or, you know, or something like that. You know, I've caught seahorses. I've seen some ocean fish here and there. You know, all kinds of, you never know. It's like Christmas 500 times a day. You never know what you're going to catch. You know, I've caught all kinds of different puffer fish species and, you know, a lot of different things that you just don't expect to see in the bay.
For the folks who don't know what a water spout is, what is that?
It's I don't know like the science behind it, but it basically is like a tornado it's a tornado of water that comes up out of the water and goes up into a cloud. It's pretty wild. I think I've seen probably 4 or 5 in my career, which is 8 years, on my own. And almost every one of them has been over by like the Rock Hall area, the Chester River. I don't know what it is about that area, but almost everyone I've ever seen has been in the mouth of the Chester River.
Very interesting. Got some X-Files stuff going on.
Yeah, right. Something like that.
So
right.
let's jump into social media, man, because I feel like we could just talk about crabbing all day, honestly.
Yeah.
So how did you start bringing social media into your business, into your crabbing business?
Well, to be honest, it all started. I built this like tri-folding origami cabinet, kind of as a winter project. You remember seeing that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
So I built that and I put it on TikTok. I was a hater at first. I thought TikTok was stupid and for kids, and I was like, I was a major hater. I put it up there and it got a little traction. I got, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 million views or something on that video. And I thought, man, that's crazy. And it got picked up by like BuzzFeed and some other things. And I was like, man, if I could make videos about crabbing and get people interested in that the same way that they're interested in this, I was like, that could be great for business. So I kind of, I probably gained 50 or 60,000 followers on TikTok from making this cabinet. And so I just started grinding on crabbing content, like DIY stuff. And the thing is, I've never really ever had to come up with a video ever. It's different. It's not fabricated content. There's nothing wrong with that. Like YouTubers, nothing wrong with that at all. But like, I'm just into so many things. My life is kind of weird and I'm sort of an outlier in my industry to begin with. Like, I think people just found it interesting, and there's just so much work that I do every day that's so foreign to so many different people that, you add a little humor and this and that and just kind of who I am, and make videos about it. I'm just doing all the same things that I would do anyway, interacting with the same people. I just set up a camera and do a little editing and, it started to catch on. But I mean, it's been about 2 years now since I started and it's a grind, man. You got to stay consistent. That's the biggest thing is you got to stay consistent with posting and, even when your videos are flopping and, I get down about it too, and you just got to stay consistent. I'm serious. You just got to stay consistent,
So what's a bad video? What's a bad video for you? 100,000? Yeah.
I mean, if it doesn't hit 100, if it doesn't hit 100,000 on TikTok, it's different for all platforms. But like TikTok, I have 1.3 million followers. So, if a video doesn't get 100,000, it's like, it's sort of a bummer, but you gotta, it's still a lot of people. I mean, imagine 100,000, even imagine 20,000 people. That's, and I lose sight of that too,
Well, I'm going to bring it down even further for you. Because this is the way I break it down to people when they ask me about social media. And I only have like 6,000 followers on Instagram. But I was like, if 100 people like, my video or post or whatever, or let's even go like further than that. If I get 50 to 100 people downloads on a podcast, imagine talking to 50 people or 100 people or 200 people all at one time, then it changes it up. Like, oh yeah, I never thought about it like that. And so just something simple like that. So yeah, no, I feel where you're coming from, but I'm going to bring it down further for you.
Yeah, I lose sight of it too, man, just because I'm dealing with all across all these different platforms and all this different interaction and all these different analytics across all these different things, and you lose sight of it. You really do. But you're right. I mean, 10,000 people, if you were to go and talk to a room of 10,000 people at one time, you'd be like, oh my God, this is the craziest thing in the world. But you see it on a screen and you're like, oh, I can't believe it got 10,000. It only got 10,000. You know what I mean?
Right. Talk a little bit about the rivalry you have on TikTok with one of your fellow crabbers. It's all in fun. But I think that's when I started following you, when I saw something about I think y'all had did something to each other pot or
Yeah,
something.
that was one of my video. That was my biggest viral video. It was like 39 million views, I think I had on TikTok. Yeah, that's CJ, the guy that I worked for. So
Okay.
he's kind of like my crab dad, is what people call him. Uh, but we work in the same areas and whatever, and we're always messing with each other. It gets boring out there. You know what I mean? You gotta, and I'm young enough and whatever. Like I'm always pranking people. Like I'm the prankster. Like I'm always pranking people. I'm always messing with people and stuff. I'll go the extra mile for a laugh. I've always
Right.
been that way.
Got you.
And so, yeah, I the video you're talking about, I think I took one of those expanding starfish, like the little bath toys that grow like 10 times as big, and I
Right.
put it in this crab pot, hoping that it was gonna like expand and grow and like blow the crab pot apart, and it like did not work at all. Verily, like it got like slightly bigger, but yeah, he does YouTube and stuff. His stuff is FV Miss Paula, fishing vessel Miss Paula on YouTube, and he makes some videos and stuff, or he had a guy that was making videos for him. But yeah, we try to keep it interesting. We can kind of play off each other and stuff, and it's like I said, it's all stuff we were doing before. I've been messing with him since I was a kid, so
Right.
now it's just I get the whole world gets to laugh at him.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's great, man. All right. And again, we could talk about social media on and on, but let's talk about the things you're doing currently. It's not crab season.
Hmm.
But you're doing a lot of things with was it Maryland's Best and Maryland Seafood. And like I've been seeing on social media, you've been going to the oyster houses, doing
Hmm.
some spotlights and just showing the process. Like what brought that on? That you was like, you know what, maybe let's take this on.
Yeah, well, it's not. None of it's actually through the state, Maryland Best or Maryland Seafood. This is
Oh,
all
okay.
just stuff I'm doing on my own. I know
Even
those
better.
guys and
Man, kudos,
everything.
man.
Yeah, appreciate. Yeah, I know those guys, but this is just freelance stuff. You know, oystering has always been something that people are not always the best informed about. There's a lot of stuff about, you hear from different foundations and this and that, whatever, that it's like, you know, watermen are killing the bay and the oysters are gone and this and that, but there's not a single person from like the waterman community that has any sort of voice. You know what I mean? So it's like, I have this platform that a lot of people see, and it's basically Maryland's identity is seafood, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing you see about seafood is negative because, basically you're getting a lot of bias information from a lot of places that have a lot more time, money, and resource than
Yep.
the watermen. You know what I mean? So they can go like this, write a check, and get whatever their message is to
Their,
so many people.
their
The
agenda.
watermen can't.
Yeah.
The watermen can't do that. And most watermen, the average age of a waterman is 56. They're not exactly on in this modern age of the internet. I happen to be an outlier, and the internet's kind of part of my business now. So I was just like, you know what? I just want to be able to tell these people's stories, put the information out there from them. Really, all I'm doing, if you think about it, is evening the playing field. You know what I mean? Like I'm taking an underrepresented group of people and just, you know, giving them a platform to be able to show tell their perspective, their side of the story, which is not something that's really ever been able to be effectively done consistently for the watermen. There's no funding for them to make videos and commercials and stuff to let people know that, hey, this is the best that wild oysters have been in ever. This is the best spat set and the best, you know most we've ever seen, in a lot of places like Broad Creek. You'll never hear that. All you're going to see is that, so and so comes out and says that, the water, the Chesapeake Bay gets a D minus on the scale, and but they're not talking about the reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're not talking about the reasons why, the oysters can't live and the crabs can't live. Like, so much of it is water quality. You know what I mean? And you can throw back as many oysters and crabs as you want, but nothing's going to live in a stagnant puddle. You know what I mean? But that doesn't
Story
fit
that's
these.
being told.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's not at all, you know? Um,
that's
so I'm just
crazy.
trying to do what I can, you know what I mean? That is part of crabbing, dude. You know, I've learned in business and life and everything is you get out what you put in. You know what I mean? So I'm not getting paid to go do any of these videos. I'm getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go drive 2 hours to Farm Creek to spend a whole day with these people. And I'm losing money. I'm spending my own money. But, you know, part of this is like, you know, I you get out what you put in. So, this is arguably the most important thing for the industry overall for people to put work into is, you know what I mean? Actually being able to accurately, get the information out there. It's basically like I'm trying to do news. The
And
difference is
that's a,
nobody's paying me to lie to you. You know what I
right.
mean?
No, I as soon as I saw what you were doing, man, I was like, this is, I love what you're doing. And I wish I actually had more time to do the things you're doing. Because
Yeah.
just like the story you was telling of the Tongers, with I forgot the guy's name, the older guy, and he was
Mr.
talking
Lewis
about,
Carter.
right, he was talking about like these are the best, oysters that are coming out, and just what did he say? He was like the best he had seen in a while or something.
Oh yeah, that guy. He was saying, this was the best. He's been working Broad Creek his whole life, 50 some years. He had been on it, and he said, it's the best he's ever seen it. Natural spat set. And he said, my friends over there, that was the same story. Everybody that was out there said the same thing. And I mean, I was doing it too. I was out there working. I was helping a guy for a day, when his crew didn't show up, whatever. And, for every one legal oyster, there's 15 or 20 undersized oysters, um, it's great. And they're, but you'll never hear that. You know what I mean? These people are out there in old wooden boats. They've been doing it for 50 years. Like they got a job to do. You know what I mean? So they don't, they're not able to get their side of the story out there,
Right. For the folks, and I just mentioned Tongan, and I'm not gonna hold you, man. But
No, you're good, man. You're good.
oh, okay. For the folks who don't know what Tongan is, could you explain what Tongan is?
Yeah. So there's a lot of different methods to catch oysters, but hand tonging is basically just a big rake on the end of a pole. And so you got, they'll have shafts that are either, anywhere as short as 8 feet and as long as 25 foot. And then you have different size, rakes heads on the end, and you drop them down and you tong them up like that. And then you pick them up and dump them on the culling board and go through them. It's ground zero for commercial fishing in the Chesapeake Bay. It's the very first kind of wild harvest ever in the Bay. The Indians were doing it,
Right, exactly.
in the same method. It's age old. We're in this modern day and age, and they're still catching oysters the same way they did.
It's amazing, man. I hate to cut this conversation short, but I gotta get back. But I want
It's
to
all
thank you
good.
first of all, for we finally linked up. We finally made this happen. And
Yeah,
I
man.
want to thank you for that. And we didn't even talk about Baltimore, the Magnets, but I got him coming on the podcast. I don't know if he told you or not.
Oh no, I didn't hear. Yeah,
Yeah,
Evan. He's a good
yeah,
guy,
Evan.
man. Evan's a cool dude.
Yeah, I got him coming on later this week, matter of fact. But that's going to be a dope conversation also. But thank you, first of all, for taking time out of your day, man. Thank you for the things you're doing for the Bay, as far as the educational, spreading the news, the real story, the untold story. And I appreciate all of that. And we're going to get you on again, and we're going to have another
Yeah, man.
conversation and talk crabs and oysters and social media and all those great things you're doing and whatever is next for you. So in the meantime, where can folks find you if they're not one of the millions or millions of people that are already following you?
Yeah, I mean Tic Toc. It's my handle is FV, which is Fishing Vessel Southern Girl. It's the name of the boat. Instagram, you can just probably look up my name, Luke McFadden. It's Luke underscore MCFAD. And you just search my name, and then Facebook's my name. I have a business page on Facebook I use in the summer for buying crab or for selling crabs. That's Bodkin Point Seafood, BODKIN Point Seafood. But yeah, I mean, really, you should be able to just kind of search my name, Luke McFadden, across any platform, and you should be able to find it.
Man, I'm just sitting here like drowning in the topics that we could talk about because we didn't talk about Jimmy's either, like the pop-up bartender gigs and the crab feast that you do are a part of. It's a lot of things. So folks, go follow this guy, man. It's always, especially if you're in the DMV, Washington DC, Baltimore, America. If you're in the area, this is a guy to know and to follow. So
Hey, man,
again,
I'm
thank you.
around to do a lot of different stuff, and got some exciting stuff coming up. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, listen to that. Yeah, we definitely gonna talk again.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate the time.
For sure. All right, man. That's a wrap, man. That's how we do it.
All right, man. Sounds good, buddy.